What I can say versus trying to develop a property in Ontario or even in Quebec is that I could be mining by the end of the year. So it'd be small scale. We'll grow from there. But instead of having to permit a 20, 30, 40, 100,000 ton project and need to raise 200, $300 million, I don't need that much.
Hey everybody, before we get into today's video, I just want to give a quick disclaimer that the views and opinions expressed on Talon Talks are those of the host and guests and do not necessarily reflect the views of Talon Resources and Community Development. The content shared is for informational purposes only and should not be considered financial, legal, or professional advice. Always consult with a qualified expert before making decisions related to investment, development, or community engagement. Enjoy the show. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Talon Talks. I'm here with my two co-hosts, Mr. Robert Houle and Mr. Dale Ginn. For those that are new, welcome to the channel. And for those that are new, I guess we'll introduce you to the podcast a little bit. It's the only one where industry meets insights for nice casual conversations. And for those that don't know, our host here, Robert Houle, is our First Nations engagement specialist and president of Talon Resources. And I'm here with my other co-host, Dale Ginn, who's an award-winning geologist with, I believe, over 30 years of experience running projects, managing projects, and basically everything in the exploration industry. So, gentlemen, how are you? Dale, your office is obviously looking a little bit more emptier than past episodes.
Yes, my house sold, so I'm moving not far, but across to the east side of Kenora from the west side.
You're on the good side.
I hope so.
Yes, we actually did a bonfire last weekend, and oh my God, those mosquitoes! It was started out really well, nice, where all of a sudden it just like a wall came in. And
Yeah, about 9 p.m., right?
yeah, that was
Yeah.
it. We were like, okay, let's get out of here. So, anyways, oh well, welcome over to the east side there, Dale. I'm sure you're gonna love it.
Yeah, we're happy. Well, all the kids are gone, right? So out of this house, so we had to downsize it a little bit. There's just the two of us left here.
Well, I'm sure they'll be on your shores with the bonfires ablaze.
Now they'll be populating the dock, right?
There you go. Perfect.
So, for today's episode, we have a different guest than usual, someone who is actually a CEO of an exploration company. I know we've had CEOs of service companies, chiefs, counselors, community leaders, so we get to hear a bit of a different perspective today. So, with that being said, let's introduce Mr. Don Baxter.
Hey, Don.
Hey guys, all right.
Hey,
Hey Dale, Bob, Ricky, how you guys
Nice to
doing?
see you.
very good.
Excellent, good. So I'm joining you guys. Are we live now on air?
We're live and we're on air.
Excellent. So I missed the opening banter, the opening monologue.
Oh,
Yeah.
it was something to be watched. That's for sure.
I'll watch it on the when we go public and we go live. That's excellent. Good.
It was hard hitting discussion for sure. Yeah.
Well, that's great. Well, actually, I'm glad I've watched a couple of your episodes. I'm happy to be here. So it's good to see you guys.
Yeah, welcome aboard. It's nice to have you on here, Don.
Great. Thanks. Good to be here. So my jurisdiction has changed a little bit since we last worked together, Rob, but still usual same issues in the mining business. They can be applied anywhere in the world for the most part.
That's what it sounds like. Yes, I know. I guess if we could just get a little bit of a background on yourself, Don, just to start this off and
Sure.
Get rolling.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I usually most things. So I'm presently CEO of Applied Graphite Technologies. So we're doing work. It's a company that I formed and then took public a little over a year ago, and our main focus is graphite, and hence the name Applied Graphite Technologies. And our projects right now are in Sri Lanka. So Sri Lanka has, let's say, has a history of graphite, and basically more prior, so up to the end of the Second World War, they were one of the largest producers, and then it fell off after the end of the war, and the British left what was then called Ceylon. So I've been in the graphite space for a while. Rob, as you recall, we did have a work together on a Bissa Creek project on the Ottawa Valley on graphite. So graphite has really sort of come into its light as far as use in lithium-ion batteries. So it's basically been an industrial mineral, but it's now it's now a key component in the anode of a lithium-ion battery. So and myself, I'm a mining engineer, so I kind of look at this public company stuff probably a little differently than most. I like to build things, and I've been through a number of different public companies and left a lot of feasibility studies and what on the table, but was finally able to capitalize and do some things basically for myself. And the beauty of doing something in Sri Lanka is that because it's such high grade graphite, it's 95% carbon. So graphite's pure carbon. So Rob, if you recall the project we worked on in Bissa Creek, with all the process involved there, the technical aspect, it involves long time drilling and coming up with all your various reports, and probably a couple $100 million to build a primary processing plant, along with power plant and everything else goes with it. So the case in Sri Lanka, it's smaller scale, and the fact that it's 95% carbon in the ground means we can take a mine and put it in a bag and sell it as is. So we don't need to build that $200 million processing plant. We don't need to permit tailings, that kind of stuff. So it's just an opportunity to be able to get something up and running a whole lot quicker, and we don't need to raise that much money in order to do that. So so anyway, that's a bit of a preamble to what I'm doing now, and a lot of the things will translate into dealing with governments and dealing with locals and whatnot in local communities. Still similar to doing stuff in Ontario, but maybe not quite as formalized. As you're dealing with now with different community engagement, whatever. So that's in a nutshell, I guess, what I'm doing at the moment.
Wow. So your product is basically direct shipping?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm not allowed to use the term ore, things like that are uneconomic due to 43101 rules. But direct shipping graphite, basically that's it. So the geology is different from, like, for example, where Rob and I worked on the Bissa Creek project, which is a disseminated natural graphite flake throughout the rock. It's 2% in the ground, so you have to mine it, hard rock, crush and grind. Yeah. Whereas the natural vein graphite in Sri Lanka, it comes from depth, so it's been possibly remobilized flake at some point, but it's basically a solid vein of graphite. Right. It's hydrothermal, so we're defining it to depth. There's a government mine right beside where we are, and they're down 600 meters down. The veins are basically subvertical and going, and they just go down, as deep as 200, 300, 400, 500, 600 meters, or even deeper. So we're using some geophysics to define it. So we don't have to chase it with a drill. As you know, Dale, you're a geologist, correct, Dale?
Yeah, the graphite should light up, shouldn't it?
Oh, yeah. Exactly. So with an IP we're doing there, hasn't been done in Sri Lanka before. So they'll do a VLF, and they'll show an anomaly, one-dimensional anomaly. Yeah. You have no idea where it is. So we've introduced, it's not new to us, but new to Sri Lanka, using IP to define this thing to depth. So we've got multiple veins. We've got a ridge that runs north-south, and the graphite veins run east-west. And they're, they can be, as narrow as a couple of centimeters, or they can be, a couple of meters thick as you go down.
So I imagine your markets are easy to get to given your location, right?
Well, it depends. It's as most projects, there's always things that make it difficult to get things happening. So Sri Lanka is geopolitically um, not of interest to a lot. It doesn't have it has a historic level of graphite production. Right now, there's I don't know, there's only 3 mines running right now in Sri Lanka, so it's the entire island maybe produces 3,000 tons a year. So the key thing is to get the interest for the markets per se, which you're right. Once we get rolling, the markets will be mainly now ex-China.
Right.
So it'll be Europe, the UK, Korea, Japan is where I'll want to target, all close by. And they're even looking at developing some battery hubs. Even in Saudi Arabia, they're looking to do that. So as we go, we'll look at defining where we'll ship to, and I think even Morocco is looking to have the Chinese are actually looking to diversify and have some offshore production. BTR, one of the bigger Chinese car companies, is looking to have battery production in Morocco. So it makes it easier for access into the EU and whatnot without all this tariff nonsense going on.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, it will be to the point where the issue we have though is that most people will talk about natural flake graphite and not really know about natural vein graphite. But they're basically, when you break them down, down to micron size, they're exactly the same, except the vein graphite from Sri Lanka has a higher degree of crystallinity, which is crystallinity translates into battery capacity. So flake graphite, natural graphite, all same applications. The perception is that it's a small market for vein graphite, but for all the other industrial applications, but it's just been a very small supply. It's not everything you use natural flake graphite for, you could use natural vein. It just hasn't been a whole lot of it available. So our task is to actually show that we can produce thousands of tons, and we're tying up a land package that's that we can do that. And then just start producing it. And I've made battery material with natural Sri Lankan graphite, and it's proven to be very, very good. So it's just a matter of reestablishing that and getting more eyes on it. So that's the thing. So it should sell itself, but as like most things, it just takes a bit of time to get that established again.
Yes, it sounds like you got quite the challenge. I know in terms of what's typically mined over here, that's that flake graphite, right? Or you call that
Yeah.
That's part of the critical mineral strategy. I guess that's active over here.
Exactly.
In terms of, I guess, the existing mines that are over here, what's the, well, I see the advantage of it. For you to get this Sri Lankan operation up and going, like compared to what's in the ground over here. Like,
well, yeah, it's. I mean, I think the best thing is, first of all, because of the grade. Again, we don't need to have the extra capex, so I don't need to. For my shareholders, they're all happy to be not diluted out, needing to raise $200 million or more. That's one thing. When you look at Bissa Creek that you and I worked at, or the other ones through the sort of central gneiss belt that runs through Ontario up into Quebec, where Nouveau Monde is, and these other ones, it's low grade, so it just costs more to get out of the ground, and your capex is much higher. So for me, starting out basically privately, I started out by acquiring property in Sri Lanka. So I basically was doing almost got a real estate deal, because they changed the rules in Sri Lanka to allow private landowners to have mineral rights. So by doing that, I tied up some ground, and we've since, amongst the properties we bought, we now have also the surrounding 100-hectare grids that take it, so we don't have to do surface deals. We have the mineral rights surrounding everything, plus we also have the surface rights on the properties we own. So just makes it more of a solid position. But I mean, you look at the development of a mine in Ontario or even Quebec, it's 10 years more plus. So generally speaking, too, is that the everybody's this whole critical materials, minerals, battery side. The West has been slow to get there, and all the money's gone into lithium or cobalt and nickels, all the attention. So graphite really hasn't had that real attention span for money. It's growing and people are getting more aware of it. But what I can say versus trying to develop a property in Ontario or even in Quebec is that I could be mining by the end of the year. So it'll be small scale. We'll grow from there. But instead of having to permit a 20, 30, 40, 100,000 ton project and need to raise 200, $300 million, I don't need that much. So I can be permitted. I'm just waiting on my one permit, which has been a bit delayed because maybe I'll get into it a bit later in the show, just dealing in Sri Lanka. But we have a pending permit. Once we have that permit, we can move on to the mining permit pretty much immediately. And then one of the properties we have, there's some old workings on it that we're very quickly rehabilitating, and we have access to exposed graphite veins. We can immediately start mining and shipping. So that's what we're working on now. Whereas most of the mines in Ontario, and there's only really, I think Northern would have the one mine at Bissett Creek, but they're since focused in Quebec. For the most part. So it's just time. I think the easy answer is time and money.
Right.
Basic thing. Yeah.
So, I mean, Talon, generally we're dealing in that in between, industry and communities, and trying to get the vision and when we started Talon was educating both sides. So, and getting especially the difference between exploration and mining, because they tend to get lumped into the same. And so we just figured, the more people know about their own backyard, geologically, and mineral potential, the better, right, for all sides. And so that's that's been the Talon view on things. And so I guess as it pertains to Sri Lanka, I guess the question would be how are you making out with the surrounding community, the government, the people that are going to be affected by whatever operation you might have there.
Yeah, excellent question, because it's a learning curve, and it's the first things first. Like very similar to if I was doing a project in Ontario, I would want you guys there with me. My partner, or one of our directors of our company, Sri Lankan lawyer in Sri Lanka, and I met him on another project. So the first thing I started with in Sri Lanka was a trusted local partner. So, he maintains some ownership in the Sri Lankan subsidiary that we work through. Applied, obviously, we're a listed company. Applied Graphite is listed on the venture exchange. So we start this almost for that aspect. Insert Talon or insert a local trusted partner to liaise with the communities. So it's a little different because. So you don't have the defined, distinct First Nations communities as we have basically. Dealing in they have different cultural groups in Sri Lanka, mainly based around religion. So the locals in the area, the villagers, the main people you talk with, there's local, local police, the Buddhist priest. You sort of have some community offerings and things like that. It's not a structured. IBA process that we'd have in Ontario or Quebec or somewhere. So, but there's still that spirit of community involvement and sort of getting that social license, as it were, in order to operate. So, I mean, and the Buddhist priests can really sort of define your success or potential, I guess, failure in the area if they're not happy with you. So, but my basic philosophy is communication, and I mean, I'm also very keen on social outreach and dealing with donations to schools and things along those lines, local health programs, anything we can do from that perspective. So it's not too different from what we would do here. Again, it's just not as structured, and it's maybe a little nuanced in some ways. I mean, you guys in dealing with local communities will know the little nuances and whatnot. So it's a matter of just dealing, having that local expertise. So that could be translated pretty well.
Yeah, that's always the trick, is to get to the proper people in the communities.
Yeah.
I know that just taking a step back here, Don. You talked about you're not allowed to talk about ore. So
Oh.
is there an actual 43-101 over there, or what do you
Well,
do?
no, if Rob, if you're listed in Canada,
Yeah.
which Don is, so then he's
Okay.
governed by I call them the fun police. You got to keep your language official.
Yeah.
So anyway, Don, you don't have to worry. We're not the fun police here.
No, so no, I'm just saying because and that's the thing is, you're looking at this for what we're doing, Dale, is that because we can use the geophysics, graphite, it just lights up. As you say, you drive the electricity into the ground. It's highly conductive, compared to the quartzite around it, so it's very easy to define. And I'd much rather get in there, because you can see once you're in there, once you define it, you can mine it. You don't need to chase it with a drill. It's harder to chase veins with drill anyway. So even the whole 43-101 definition of your density of drilling and whatnot, and it's just cost prohibitive. So in order to get it, we can get straight to mining. We can use the cheaper method to identify where the graphite is, and it's all small scale underground mining. There are a few drill holes we have access to that were done by some previous operators in the area, so we can build a model around that, and then allow us to get in and define it. But because of that, the rules that are set, they're more for a massive sulfide or whatever, to define a vein deposit according to the 43-101 rules, or it's pretty ominous. So we'll just get to business. We'll just be careful what we say and don't say, and we can just start mining and making money, and we just won't be able to ever say how much we talk about a resource or a reserve, or use any real economic terms.
No, you'll have quarterly reports that'll show production, grade, etc.
Exactly.
But yeah, I mean, it also depends where and how you're financing to start, right? That depends, right? Banks or whatever may require different things.
Exactly. I've had my wrists slapped a few times, and so I know what words not to use in a press release and that kind of stuff. But yeah, no, I just want to, again, as I said earlier, I'm a mining engineer, so I just want to get to it. So we literally have an adit and a winze to access. We're just dewatering to access already exposed graphite veins. So why would once I get my mining license, I don't need a 43-101 to get a mining license. As you say, it'll be reflected in our balance sheet,
Right.
but we'll just not talk about, if we sold 1 ton or 6 tons of graphite, we just can't say we've got X number of tons more to sell. So we'll just have to be in that perspective. So, and we are pretty tightly held, as far as my shareholders go. We've got 20 right now. We have 25 million shares outstanding. More than 60% of our shares are held by, I got a couple of small funds in, Canaccord is in. So we're not out there. We really don't have that need to be as promotional as others are. So we just, again, we put out news as we have it, but we just have to be, we're careful of what we're doing. But so my intention is to get into the mining business and get, as we define with the IP where the graphite is. As I say, we can drive into the side of a hill. I don't need to sink a shaft or whatnot. Once we drive in, as I say, we're coming in perpendicular to the veins, and we can come in at different elevations, because basically we'll hit a vein of graphite that's running perpendicular to where we drive, and it'll go down and down and down. So we can just actually, so to define a resource, as opposed to having a massive open pit sulfite on the surface, we've got something that's basically going to depth. So if you have,
You're kind of like old school mining, like the way it used to be.
yeah, it'll be jackleg drilling and that kind of, so very much. I mean, the mining that's there right now, the three mines that operate, they're all basically, I wouldn't say pick and shovel, but they're drilling and with jacklegs, and they have tiny, ore carts underground. So it's 100 years ago mining,
right?
Small scale but the biggest thing I saw, the restriction of the mining of the existing mines, they're all shaft access. So we picked this problem. Luckily, the best geology for graphite where we are in Sri Lanka allows for ramp access, at it, and then ramping versus like the mine that's right beside us, the government mine called Kahataga. They've got they're down 2,000 feet, so 600 meters down through a shaft. So they're limited. There's a shaft and there's an internal shaft. They're down 1,000 feet, so they're limited in what they can do. So I look at it and say, gee, I would have maybe done this differently. But they've been running since 1870, so they're doing the same. They're doing it pretty much the same way.
Yeah.
But I look at it from the terrain, and we can come in and define ramps or adits and declines and access this and give us that extra. We're not limited then by one single access point.
Right.
I got a couple of questions there, Don. Just one obviously. What made you choose Sri Lanka? And then two, I know that Dale was talking about regulations, and we look to get community support. What stops, I guess, that your neighbor to stop coming onto your property? That's like what are the regulations over there? That's what I'm looking for.
Well, there's a full-on mining act. So we have, as far as sort of your last question first, so we own land.
Okay.
So typically the process is, before, if we didn't own the land, we can apply for the grid, the mining grid, which is 100 square hectares each, and then you'd have to do separate land use, like surface rights with the own landowners to access the land. But we own it, so we bought up of our first grid. We pretty much own, most of the ground, so we're our own landholders. So that keeps us. So we can put a fence up, we can put gates up, so that keeps people off, keep accessing the property. Now we do the same if we had a land lease with an owner, that kind of thing. So from that perspective, it's not really any great difference there. So, and sorry, what was your first question as far as?
Oh, just why Sri Lanka?
Sri Lanka. Yeah. I've often asked myself that same question, and then trying to convince other people to go there as well. So I was CEO. I came in as a CEO of another company, and I made a connection there. I left that company, I think, in December 2022, and then the opportunity came up to buy. I had actually optioned a piece of property there, and then in 2023. Through my partner there, we bought the first property, and then basically put deposits down on, and then bought up a second property, and so then it just grew from there. And then but it's without having my partner there, it would be impossible. But again, I was exposed to it. I see the opportunity, and again, as I said earlier, the opportunity is we can develop these mines with very low capex. Be up and running quicker than anyone here, anyone based here. Even how far Nouveau Monde has advanced. How many hundreds of millions of dollars have they gone through yet? They're still not through. So we don't have to do that. We can be up and running, and then as the market comes to us, we can grow. So that's why I see that opportunity is to get up and running quick. And I've left 1, 2, 3, or 4. Feasibility studies and plans on the table between, Southern United States, Ontario, Quebec, So this particular thing, I see the potential and how quick we can get it to market. We need to get, from a battery perspective and for what's happening, we've been too slow to it. We need to get some of our own non-Chinese produced graphite. And this, I think, is the quickest way to do it.
Nice.
So it sounds like you're providing a higher grade product to, this whole electrification of our vehicles and our grids and whatnot, right?
Yeah.
And it sounds also like you're in a location that can serve Europe, Eurasia, Australia, I suppose. You're pretty well located as well, and I assume that your workforce is going to be generally local.
Yep.
Yeah. So sounds like a good situation.
Well, yeah, it's funny. You're probably one of the first people that said that. But you're right. And actually, ironically, there was something posted on LinkedIn yesterday. It was a circle of where half the world's population is, and Sri Lanka's there. Between India and China, and obviously Sri Lanka is just off the coast of India. But where everything is developing, Sri Lanka is becoming more and more strategically important. It's the Port of Colombo is one of the busiest ports in the area. So we've got road access to the port, all that kind of. So it's fairly well developed compared to places I've been before. Like, for example, I've worked in Madagascar. It's not nearly as developed and progressive as Sri Lanka is. But having said that, Sri Lanka has gone through a lot of political turmoil. They did go bankrupt a couple of years ago. They've been bailed out by the IMF. They've also now just completely switched their political. They have a new president, came in last September. So a party that went from 4 seats to 160 seats. So a big learning curve, trying to still bring Sri Lanka out of the bankruptcy and whatnot, and sort of clear out the perception of corruption and things like that. But they're still very slow to move, and it can be frustrating. On the other hand, I see the potential, and it's kind of worth where others wouldn't be there, whether they didn't have the background I have there. Others would be scared away from it. But you're absolutely right. The potential is tremendous, and the proximity to markets, be it if it's not China for the battery side of things, it's South Korea or Japan. And then potentially, as I said, there's other hubs that are looking to produce battery materials as well, or at least produce batteries. So you need the materials.
Yeah.
Wow.
I just got one question for yourself, Don, and it's a little bit of change of topics, changing directions. But I've worked with enough people from all across the world that work in different areas, and they always have one funny or crazy story that's like their first impression of whatever new country they're in. Do you have any whenever your first experience in Sri Lanka was?
I do. It's how long do we have? Because I got many. I think.
Let's hear your best one. One of your most memorables.
The most memorable one may take a little bit too much of a background to get to it, but I think it's actually. Let me go to a different one. I'll leave Sri Lanka for a different time, because Sri Lanka, I don't want to piss anybody off I think I was in Madagascar, and we were looking at a project there, and I had the environmental consultant there about doing the environmental permitting. And they were speaking French, and my French is not great, but I can understand more than I can speak. And I said, well, how long is this going to take? And he said, I think he said like 30 days, but not necessarily consecutive. That could be like 30 years. But he was perfectly serious. Not that it'll take us that long, but not consecutive. So, but that's maybe not the funniest one, but
no, that's pretty good.
But it's just like, but again, as I say, Sri Lanka has provided a lot of My memoir will be pretty interesting. Let's put it that way. So I won't get into a couple. I'll tell you guys next time we're having a beer at PDAC. A few of those.
Yeah. Okay, well, thanks, Don. We really appreciate you sharing your newest project with us. That's for people that are watching. I know we do get a lot of well, international people watching, and they'll be I'm sure they'll be reaching out.
I appreciate that. I mean, I'm in Huntsville right now, and ironically, right now, so the premiers are meeting in Huntsville right now with also First Nations leaders, and Carney is here today.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it's kind of an interesting hub of all the goings on in Huntsville. I'm above my garage right now on Chubb Lake and doing business in Sri Lanka, and now we have all Canada's leaders in just probably 10 minutes away from where I am right now.
I'll take a stroll down downtown and go say hi to Wob for us. Wob Canoe. He's
yeah.
He didn't sign on that agreement, but that's
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks. And Dale, you got anything else? Ricky, you got anything else?
No, I just want to say I appreciate you coming on. It was interesting, and Sri Lanka is not a big name in mining, but I think maybe you're going to change that.
That's my goal, is to do that, as far as bring it back. What I've said in some things, that we want to recreate, or sort of reinvigorate the industry that actually was there up until the end of the Second World War. There were probably 3,000 different sized operations running, but they it all died off after the end of the war and the British left. So they've had a few little chances of things coming along, but we have a chance now to sort of reinvigorate and reestablish this industry in Sri Lanka. So it is pretty exciting to do that.
Nice.
So,
We hope to get you back on, Don, for sure. Like, as you get down and you get busy over there, because we'd really like to. Maybe we'll come over and do a podcast from over in Sri Lanka.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, exactly. That'd be great. Yeah, I'd appreciate that. Yeah. So, are you guys footing the bill, or am I footing the bill?
We'll talk about that later. Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. All right.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks, Don.
Hey, thanks, guys.
Don. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Wow. Sri Lanka. Haven't heard of that before.
I actually, I didn't read up on him. I didn't know what he was doing. That worked out just fine.
Yeah, he's busy. I know. He's very, I guess, eager, and looks like he could be onto something good over there. As you said, Dale, you know what? Maybe he's going to put Sri Lanka on the map again.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Well, good luck.
Dale, I'm curious, what's your one story?
Oh,
short and sweet. We'll end the episode on that.
I can't do one with you recording, Ricky, I'm afraid.
We'll save these. Maybe we'll make a whole episode of just your different stories.
I can remember the guinea pig over in where the heck was that? You were eating guinea pig. Oh, what the heck?
Oh, in Peru, you're eating goat's belly or something. Oh, it was not great. Yeah. Anyway,
right.
We got a few for sure.
Yeah, we'll have to make an episode about that. But
yeah,
with that being said, I think this is a good place to end. For those that are new, please subscribe, like, comment. We'll got all of our stuff on our YouTube, LinkedIn, and on our own profiles. So that being said, see you later.